What is up, guys? It's Tony here, and today we're doing a quick tutorial on cinematics for Final Cut Pro and Macintosh. And this is actually a editing tutorial that is requested way too much, even though it's really basic. So we're going to go ahead and talk about cinematics today. The first thing is, if you want to get cinematics, or if you don't know what they are, they're basically clips of shots of the map and characters in game running around on the map. And they basically act as fillers or padding for the film you were making, the frag movie or edit or montage, whatever you want to call it. So you get these clips. You could record them yourself, or you can find them online from Cinematic Packs online, and you bring them into your timeline, and you'll notice that some of these cinematics have problems. For one, this one has, if you look here on this thumbnail, you can see it has these letterbox widescreen effects. They did this to make it look more cinematic, but the thing is, you don't want that. So you're going to basically go to crop, and you're going to crop it up to the size that you want it to be, and you hit done. So now it is the right size. If you do want to add letterboxing, you can get the letterbox effect from the effects tab, and you can go ahead and change that to whatever border size you want. And that is useful, of course. Once you have a cinematic effect in your timeline, you'll notice a lot of them are very boring, and when you play through it, it's very shitty looking, for lack of a better word. So there's a few things you can do to fix that. For one, you can get a plugin called a shake effect or a camera shake. You can find them all over the web. Some of them are free, some of them cost money, and you simply drag that onto your clip, and you'll see it moves around. Let me turn off the magnetic tool, and you'll see when you drag through, it moves around, and it kind of gives the effect that you're holding a camera, or you're recording with a camera, and it makes it look a lot better. It's going to be a little laggy right now because of the fact that this is rendering in real time, but you can see the effect, pretty basically. Maybe we'll let that render for a bit while we talk some more. Another thing you can do is, of course, add color correction. Any color correction can make a huge difference. You could use Magic Bullet Looks, as I just hovered over it. But of course, there are ways you could change the color correction inside of the Final Cut program itself. One thing I would recommend is just maybe changing the saturation a bit. Some of these cinematics look very bleak, so saturation is a great way to make them look a little more colorful and a little bit more interesting. You can do this, of course, to your actual clips themselves, and I'd recommend playing around with saturation and other types of tools. Maybe turn that down a bit. That was a little bit too much, but that looks pretty good right there. So another cool thing you can add is some sort of blur. I don't know if there's some radial blur and things like that. So radial blur is really cool for adding the this effect that it's like a zooming effect. Turn that down a bit, and it makes your cinematic look better. I would recommend turning the center to the subject, and there you go. Now it'll look a little bit better. Maybe like right there, and that kind of adds a cool effect to it. And I noticed earlier when I was putting in the camera shake that if you notice, the camera shake was moving around with the letterboxing. I'd like to mention real quick that if you want to get rid of that, you don't want that to happen, you can select the effect, the letterbox effect, hit delete on your keyboard or backspace, and you can make this a compound clip and then add letterbox on top of the entire thing. And that will allow you to letterbox separate from the camera shake. So I thought I'd add that in. And this will give us a very nice looking cinematic that looks 10 times better than the raw footage. We may even be able to take a look at the before and after at the end of this video. I might include the finished cinematic. One last little recommendation for cinematics is you want them to look as cool as possible. And what a lot of editors do to make cinematics look nicer is, by the way, I recommend to turn on the audio on any cinematic. They add in some sort of slow motion, type of thing where leading up to where the guy whips out the guns and has them both up pointing forward, you speed it up, and then once he has the guns out, you slow it down. So we're going to go ahead and let this render for a second, and then we're going to try that out real quick. Rendered, and you can see it looks nice and smooth. It kind of shakes around. That's a pretty cool little effect. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to slow it down to make it look better. What I would recommend doing is for this first part, like right here, where he moves around a bit, select some of that. I don't know why it's rendering again. Select some of this and get to the part where he holds up the gun like right here. And then make this like maybe, I don't know, like 200% faster. And then once the character in the cinematic holds the gun up straight, you can slow that up a bit, and maybe put that to like 20%, maybe even slower. And that can sometimes make for a really nice cinematic. Any sort of like slow down, speed up, stuff like that makes it look pretty nice. Doesn't have to render again. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the finished product at the end of this video and show you the before and after of this cinematic. So that is pretty much it. That is how I make my cinematics look better and make them look nicer. I'd recommend doing the widescreen, the letterboxing. That looks pretty cool. I would recommend putting in some nicer color corrections with magic bullet looks. And I recommend trying to make your own cinematics, because making your own cinematics sometimes is a lot more fun. You can be a lot more creative. You can see examples of that in some of my edits, some of my earlier edits especially, because recently I've gotten more lazy, to be honest, with cinematics. But they can make a huge difference. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to make this quick tutorial to show you guys how to mess around with cinematics and make them look nicer in Final Cut Pro. If you guys have any other recommendations for future tutorials I could do, go ahead and comment them below, and I'll see you guys next time.